Greetings, lovers of the lore of Middle-earth. Gather round the fire as we embark on a journey through a critical tale that must be told. Why Amazon should never again attempt to adapt Tolkien's works for the screen. This is not merely a lamentation for what the Rings of Power became, but a call to honor the world that Tolkien so meticulously crafted. Middle-earth is no mere backdrop for spectacle. It is a realm alive with history, language, and soul. When Tolkien began weaving his legendarium in the early 20th century, it was not to create an easily digestible fantasy saga for modern screens, but to build a mythology for England, rich with moral depth and layered histories. From the Silmarillion to the appendices of The Lord of the Rings, the tales are bound by an internal logic and a sacred timeline that spans millennia. The Amazon adaptation, however, has repeatedly fallen short, failing to respect the source material's core tenets. In this first chapter, we will explore how Amazon's The Rings of Power mishandled Tolkien's Second Age and failed both the legacy of the professor and the audience. Stay with me as we uncover the reasons why adaptations of this magnitude must tread carefully, or risk shattering the beauty of Tolkien's world forever. Key themes include historical context, like Exarn Allins's vast timeline and its intricacies. The stakes of adaptation, such as why Tolkien's work demands reverence and understanding. And lastly, a fragmented Middle-earth, and how the Rings of Power fell into disarray. Amazon's The Rings of Power boldly set out to chronicle the events of Middle-earth's Second Age. Yet, what transpired was a fundamental misstep, a timeline distorted beyond recognition, characters unmoored from their canonical identities, and themes that clashed with Tolkien's vision. Let us examine the roots of these missteps. Tolkien's Second Age spans 3,441 years, a sweeping epic chronicling the rise and fall of Númenor, the forging of the Rings of Power, and the last alliance of elves and men. This immense timeline serves not merely as a backdrop, but as a vital narrative device, allowing the themes of decay, ambition, and hope to play out over centuries. Amazon's adaptation, however, compressed these events into a few short decades. In Tolkien's version, the gradual seduction of Celebrimbor by Sauron's guise as Anatar took years of careful manipulation. In Amazon's story, it seemed rushed, draining the plot of its gravitas. Key figures like Galadriel, Elrond, and Celebrimbor were altered beyond recognition. Take Galadriel, a character Tolkien described as wise, serene, and deeply introspective. Amazon's portrayal transforms her into a brash, vengeful warrior. While Tolkien's writings hinted at her strength and defiance during the rebellion of the Noldor, he never painted her as the relentless soldier depicted on screen. This characterization not only contradicts her arc in The Lord of the Rings, but diminishes the complexity of her role in Middle-earth's history. Similarly, the show distorted Celebrimbor, whose tragic downfall in Tolkien's lore stems from hubris and a yearning to surpass his forebears in crafting skill. In Amazon's adaptation, his motivations are shallow, and his dynamic with Sauron lacks the tension and depth that Tolkien carefully built. Even the Númenóreans, central to the Second Age, were portrayed inconsistently. Razason's manipulative rise to power, a critical tale of human frailty and corruption, became a sideshow rather than the moral crux it should have been. Tolkien's work is deeply philosophical, exploring themes of mortality, the corrupting nature of power, and the redemptive potential of humility. These themes shine in The Lord of the Rings, where the smallest Frodo and Sam carry the greatest burden. The Second Age is no different. The rings themselves, crafted with the intention of preservation, symbolize the elves' desire to resist change, even as the world around them decays. Amazon's adaptation, however, emphasized spectacle over substance. The crafting of the rings was treated as a rushed plot device rather than the heart of the story. The moral dilemmas faced by the elves, the Númenóreans, and the men of Middle-earth were sacrificed for flashy visuals and simplistic storytelling. With the sacred timeline shattered and the characters rendered unrecognizable, Amazon's The Rings of Power not only misrepresented Tolkien's lore, but also alienated the very audience who cherish Middle-earth. To understand why Amazon's missteps are so damaging, we must delve into their broader implications. Tolkien's Middle-earth is more than a collection of stories. It is a cohesive mythology, designed with an internal consistency that reflects his mastery of language, history, and morality. By deviating from this framework, The Rings of Power undermines the very essence of Middle-earth. Tolkien's works are revered not just for their sweeping narratives, but for their intricate web of interconnections. Every detail, from the linguistic roots of Elvish to the genealogies of Númenórean kings, serves a purpose. For instance, the crafting of the Rings of Power is meticulously detailed in the Silmarillion and the appendices of The Lord of the Rings. The three rings, forged last and untouched by Sauron's corruption, are a testament to elven craftsmanship and foresight. Amazon's decision to forge these rings first distorts this chronology and diminishes their significance. Moreover, the compression of thousands of years of history eliminates the gradual evolution of characters and societies. The Númenóreans, whose decline is a poignant meditation on mortality and hubris, are instead portrayed as a mere backdrop to rushed events. The moral decay of Númenor, a slow poison fed by Sauron's machinations, becomes a hollow footnote in Amazon's narrative. Tolkien's themes of loss and hope hinge on the weight of time, the fading of the elves, the mortality of men, and the enduring resilience of hobbits are ideas that resonate because they unfold over centuries. In compressing this timeline, Amazon strips away the nuance of these themes. For example, the elves' desperate desire to preserve Middle-earth, symbolized by their rings, becomes a shallow plotline rather than a reflection of their existential struggle. Even Sauron's role as the ultimate deceiver is diluted. In Tolkien's narrative, Sauron's ability to infiltrate and corrupt hinges on subtle manipulation, a slow erosion of trust that mirrors the overarching decay of the Second Age. By hastily revealing his identity and motivations, the series diminishes the ominous shadow he casts over Middle-earth. Perhaps the gravest consequence of these deviations is the alienation of Tolkien's most devoted fans. The discrepancies in lore, such as Galadriel's out-of-character portrayal and the fabricated relationships between elves and dwarves, sparked outrage among those who cherish Middle-earth's intricate lore. For these fans, every inconsistency feels like a betrayal of the Professor's legacy. Moreover, casual viewers unfamiliar with Tolkien's works find themselves grappling with an incoherent narrative. By attempting to cater to both audiences, Amazon's The Rings of Power ends up satisfying neither. Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings films succeeded because they respected Tolkien's vision, even when making necessary adaptations for cinema. Jackson's team meticulously researched the lore, collaborating with Tolkien scholars and treating the source material as a sacred text. In contrast, Amazon's approach appears driven by commercial considerations rather than reverence for the source. By failing to uphold the integrity of Tolkien's work, Amazon has demonstrated that adaptations of this scale require more than $1 billion budget. They demand an intimate understanding of the material and a deep respect for its fans. With the failings of the Rings of Power laid bare, the question arises: what must future adaptations learn to succeed where Amazon faltered? The answer lies in embracing Tolkien's philosophy, respecting his intricate world-building, and crafting stories that resonate with the moral and thematic depth of his works. Echo of the Dam, If You Fly, I Follow. 1. Adherence to Canon Number 1 of the laws of the canon, a foundation, not a constraint. At the heart of Tolkien's legendarium is a meticulously crafted canon. Every event, from the forging of the rings to the fall of Númenor, exists within an interconnected web of histories, languages, and cultures. Deviating from this framework risks undermining the story's internal consistency. Future adaptations must view canon not as a constraint, but as a guiding foundation. A successful adaptation would prioritize accuracy in timeline and character portrayal. For example, Galadriel's wisdom and power in The Lord of the Rings stem from millennia of experience and reflection. Any depiction of her younger self must account for the maturity she later exhibits, rather than presenting her as a one-dimensional warrior. 2. Themes over spectacle. Tolkien's narratives are defined by their themes: the allure and corruption of power, the inevitability of change, and the enduring hope found in the smallest of acts. These themes resonate because they are explored with patience and nuance. Future adaptations must resist the temptation to prioritize spectacle over substance. The forging of the rings, for instance, should not merely serve as a dramatic set piece, but as a reflection of the elves' existential struggle to preserve their fading world. Likewise, the decline of Númenor must be presented not as an inevitable fall, but as a cautionary tale about the consequences of hubris and the corruption of power. 3. A collaborative approach. Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy succeeded because it was crafted with the involvement of Tolkien scholars, linguists, and artists who deeply understood the source material. Future adaptations must adopt a similar collaborative approach. Engaging with the Tolkien estate, consulting expert historians and linguists, and involving passionate fans in the creative process are crucial steps toward authenticity. 4. Respect for the audience. Amazon's The Rings of Power tried to cater to both Tolkien enthusiasts and casual viewers, but ended up alienating both. Future adaptations must trust their audience's intelligence and emotional depth. Rather than diluting the complexity of Tolkien's work, they should embrace it, offering layers of meaning that reward both casual and dedicated viewers. Subtle nods to lore and faithfulness to the source material can create a bridge between these audiences. 5. Focused storytelling. Tolkien's Second Age is vast, but its stories are deeply interconnected. An effective adaptation should focus on key narratives rather than attempting to encompass everything at once. For example, a series centered on the Númenorian saga could explore themes of mortality, ambition, and divine retribution. A separate series could delve into the forging of the rings, showcasing the complex dynamics between Sauron, Celebrimbor, and the elves of Eregion. Tolkien's stories thrive on their pacing, allowing moments of quiet reflection to balance epic battles and high stakes. Future creators must resist the modern impulse to rush through plot points and instead let the story breathe, giving audiences time to connect with the characters and their struggles. Middle-earth deserves adaptations that honor its creator's vision and the devotion of its fans. While Amazon's attempt at the Second Age faltered, it also serves as a cautionary tale and a guidepost for future efforts. With humility, reverence, and a willingness to learn from past mistakes, there is hope that Middle-earth stories may one day return to the screen in a manner worthy of the professor's legacy. As we near the end of this journey, let us reflect on why Tolkien's Middle-earth continues to resonate across generations and why its adaptation must be approached with reverence. The stories of Middle-earth are more than tales of heroism and loss. They are reflections of timeless human struggles captured through the lens of fantasy. Any adaptation must honor this legacy. Any adaptation must honor this legacy not as a mere intellectual property to be exploited, but as a cultural treasure to be preserved. At the core of Tolkien's legendarium lies a deep moral compass. His stories explore the tension between power and humility, the inevitable passage of time, and the enduring strength of hope. The One Ring, a symbol of ultimate power, represents the seductive nature of domination, a theme as relevant today as when Tolkien wrote it in the shadow of World War II. Middle-earth is not a stage for mindless spectacle, but a canvas for exploring the human condition. Frodo's quiet resilience, Aragorn's reluctant acceptance of his destiny, and Galadriel's refusal of the ring all exemplify the nuanced morality that makes these stories timeless. Any adaptation must capture this essence, grounding its narrative in the moral dilemmas that define Tolkien's work. Tolkien's world-building is unparalleled in its depth and authenticity. His background as a philologist informed not only the languages of Middle-earth, but the cultures, histories, and even the landscapes. Each element of his legendarium serves a purpose, contributing to the mythic yet grounded reality of his world. Adaptations must embrace this attention to detail. The histories of Númenor, the crafting of the rings, and the decline of Gondor are not isolated tales, but interconnected threads in a grand tapestry. Rushing these narratives or altering them for convenience risks unraveling this delicate balance. Tolkien's works have inspired countless creators and shaped the modern fantasy genre. Yet with this influence comes responsibility. To adapt Tolkien's stories is to step into the role of a steward, tasked with preserving and interpreting his vision for new audiences. This stewardship demands humility, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to the source material. Amazon's The Rings of Power stands as a cautionary tale of what happens when this responsibility is neglected. By deviating from the source material and prioritizing mass appeal, the adaptation diluted the themes and narratives that make Middle-earth unique. The backlash from fans and critics alike underscores the importance of fidelity, not just to the text, but to the spirit of Tolkien's work. Despite the failings of recent adaptations, there is hope. Tolkien's world has proven its resilience, enduring through decades of reinterpretation and rediscovery. Future creators have an opportunity to learn from past mistakes and approach Middle-earth with the respect it deserves. By honoring Tolkien's vision and engaging with the passionate community of fans and scholars, there is potential to craft adaptations that resonate deeply and stand the test of time. Tolkien once wrote, "The world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places, but still there is much that is fair." This sentiment applies not only to Middle-earth, but to the world of storytelling itself. The responsibility of adapting Tolkien's work is not one to be taken lightly. It is a chance to illuminate the fair amidst the dark, to remind audiences of the enduring power of hope, and to bring Tolkien's vision to life in a way that inspires as much as it entertains. Let us hope that the next journey to Middle-earth is guided by reverence, care, and an understanding of the profound beauty that lies within its stories.